what's the status of the fight at the White House?
I don't really know. It's kind of out of my control right now. I'm training for the event. I'll be ready for the event. That's my goal. That's my intention.
What do you think Jon would do in the next couple of months that would make me trust putting him on the White House card?
I would not trust him, but I would like to see him fight Aspinall on that card.
If I had to make odds, it's 1,000,000,000 that I put Jon Jones on the White House card.
Ciryl Gane, who's 6'5", 247 pounds, moves like 170.
Jon Jones, the reigning UFC heavyweight champion and one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time, is once again making headlines. After months of silence following his injury and withdrawal from UFC 295, Bones has finally spoken, and what he revealed has reignited the excitement of fight fans around the world. In a recent interview, Jon Jones confirmed that he's ready to go, both mentally and physically, and is eager to return to action before the end of the year. But there's a catch. The decision, he says, isn't entirely...
First and foremost, are you retired?
I'm not retired. I'm actively training 5 days a week, and I'm in the UFC's drug testing pool.
Great. And what's the status of the fight at the White House?
I don't really know. It's kind of out of my control right now. I'm training for the event. I'll be ready for the event. That's my goal. That's my intention. But
in his hands. It all depends on UFC President Dana White's approval and how the organization plans to move forward with its event schedule, particularly one that could go down in history, a potential fight. At the White House. Yes, you read that right. Jon Jones has expressed interest in competing in what would be the most iconic and politically significant event in UFC history, a UFC card hosted.
I can't risk putting him in big positions in a big spot and have something go wrong, especially the White House.
At the White House grounds. After a long and frustrating recovery process, Jones finally gave fans an update that many had been waiting for. "I'm healthy again," he said. "I've been training hard. My shoulder feels strong. I'm just waiting for the call from Dana. If he allows it, I'm ready to fight again." The 36-year-old champion suffered a torn pectoral muscle during training late last year, forcing him to withdraw from his highly anticipated title defense against Stipe Miocic.
6'5", 247 pounds, moves like 170 pounder.
At UFC 295. The injury led to months of speculation about whether Jones would ever return, and if the Miocic fight would still happen. But now, Jones seems more focused than ever. The fire in his eyes is back, and his confidence remains unshaken. "I didn't go through all this rehab to sit on the sidelines," he added. "I want to fight the best, and I want to do it in a way that means something. If the UFC wants to make history at the White House, I'm all in." The concept of holding a UFC event at the White House might sound crazy, but it's not entirely out of the...
Back after over a year hiatus. Ciryl finally signed on the dotted line. This is the 4th time we've been matched up together, and now we are matched up for the 25th of October, Abu Dhabi. Me and Ciryl. The 4th attempt is here, and this is Cyryl's 3rd title shot. We are going to try and get rid of Ciryl Gane from the title picture.
Realm of possibility. Over the past year, rumors have circulated about Dana White's close relationship with key political figures and the potential for a major showcase event to celebrate the UFC's global growth. Some insiders believe that White wants to organize a symbolic card in Washington, D.C., possibly in partnership with government officials, to mark UFC's evolution from a once controversial sport to a mainstream Gilball powerhouse. Jones's interest in being part of that event adds fuel to the speculation. "It would be something special," he said. "Imagine fighting in front of the world's most powerful leaders, right there."
Who I've trained with from my experience, who in the gym are absolute killers, absolute world beaters, and they'll get in a fight and they'll just freeze up, and it doesn't work like it does in the gym. They fight way worse, and there's other guys like myself, anytime there's pressure on me, that's when I've done my most devastating performances. Oh, talk's just talk to me, mate. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, we're both going to take our shirts off, get a pair of gloves on, and go in there and see who wins on October 25th. So it's not really going to change anything, to be honest.
In the nation's capital, it would show how far our sport has come. For Jones, who has often been at the center of controversy, such an event could serve as both a personal redemption story and a statement of legacy. The original plan was clear. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, a heavyweight super fight between two legends, was set to headline UFC 295 in Madison Square Garden. Fans were devastated when the fight fell apart due to Jones's injury. Now,
even the number one contender, Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane is somebody that's a big heavyweight, that's very agile. I don't think Tom Aspinall gets rid of him right away like he has with other people. And I think that'll be a big indication if Jon Jones wants to come back and reclaim that.
with Jones back in shape, many are wondering whether that matchup will finally be rescheduled. Dana White has repeatedly stated that Jones versus Miocic remains the fight he wants to make. "That's the fight we owe the fans," White said earlier this year. "It's the fight Jon wants. It's the fight Stipe deserves. And when Jon's ready, we'll make it happen." However,
Cyril Gane is, people forget how fantastic he is. A guy that can kind of float around the octagon, touch you, kick you, hit you with elbow. He's just a complete game. But man, Tom's movement, his boxing, speed, and his power, it's very, very difficult to doubt this man. And
some voices within the UFC community have suggested moving on. With rising stars like Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich emerging as legitimate threats, there's growing pressure for the UFC to inject new blood into the heavyweight division rather than focusing solely on legacy fights. Jones, though, isn't backing down. "I respect..."
We've been screaming about this Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane for a long time. UFC 321, Tom minus 325, Gane plus 260. We finally got the fight, but the world doesn't seem to believe, Chael, that it's a close fight. And I don't really agree with that line. I think this fight is much closer. Tom Aspinall minus 325, Cyril Gane plus 260.
"Respect those guys," he said. "But Stipe is the greatest heavyweight in UFC history. Beating him is what solidifies my legacy in this division. That's the fight I want." Jon Jones has done it all, from dominating the light heavyweight.
Fair comparison, right? When we talk about pressure versus pressure, everybody's under tremendous pressure. But I guess when you kind of look at it from not just pressure, but potential legacy and career and what's on the line, I think it's hard to not go with Tom Aspinall because the heavyweight division is on the line. If Gane goes in and beats him, no disrespect to Gane, love the guy, the heavyweight division loses a lot of respect. Even if Tom goes out there and it's a close fight or he gets dropped and then has to come back or something, like, the heavyweight division has so little respect right now, probably deservedly so, I think. You know, even with Gane getting his third title shot in a couple years, like, Tom has to show that he is the heavyweight division. You know, he has to prove that to the world. Like, I am, you know, the heavyweight division's not just but like, I'm so good that the heavyweight division is right. This is kind of his thing that he has to go out.
In a recent interview, Jon Jones confirmed that he's ready to go, both mentally and physically, and is eager to return to action before the end of the year. But there's a catch. The decision, he says, isn't entirely in his hands. It all depends on UFC President Dana White's approval and how the organization plans to move forward with its event schedule.
Already is not respected. That brings Tom down significantly, I think, right? And of course, you know, the potential Jon Jones fight, which is whatever, who knows, right? Like, how he beats Gane, assuming he does, may play a factor too. Like, if it turns out to be a close fight, again, John's going to be on his phone with Twitter open watching this fight, like, just waiting for Tom to fuck up and get dropped, get leg kicked and limping a little bit, or, you know what I mean? Jon can't wait for it.
Particularly one that could go down in history, a potential fight. At the White House. Yes, you read that right. Jon Jones has expressed interest in competing in what would be the most iconic and politically significant event in UFC history, a UFC card hosted at the White House grounds.
It's his job. You know, if I was doing a job, I'd want to be the best at doing the job. He's inherited that trait and he trains really hard and he's learnt a lot and he's very good. He deserves it. But feeling it. I think if he was a roofer, I'd hope he'd be a good roofer. If he chose to dig roads, I'd hope he'd enjoy. Doesn't really matter, it's just a job, isn't it? Just.
After a long and frustrating recovery process, Jones finally gave fans an update that many had been waiting for. "I'm healthy again," he said. "I've been training hard. My shoulder feels strong. I'm just waiting for the call from Dana."